It's crazy how long email has been such a strong asset. When I started my first gym in '08, we immediately started grabbing emails, right? And that became a huge source of new clients. And we just consistently hit with value. I don't think I need to go into like email marketing 101. It's creating value, not pitching all the time, right? But really knowing who your avatar is and how you create value for them on a consistent basis. And, I think as far as building an email list, I'm not going to sit here and say, here's the one secret. All I'm going to say is that it has to be constantly on your mind, right? Like every single guest you have on your podcast should feed into your email list, right? You should be doing webinars periodically. You should be considering buying lists or going to events and buying lists. You should be collecting emails like it's your job. And I'm super guilty of this because I'll forget. Like I'll go months at a time, like, oh, I haven't added a single one of my guests to my email list, and I have to go back and do it manually. So, if you can build in automations for all this stuff, I think that's really critical. But there's numerous ways to build your email list. And even if it's just as simple as, I do something in my podcast where I offered a 2024 AI guide, right, to the industry. Like, hey, I interviewed 5 experts. And the nice thing about podcasting is you could probably take something within your already built content library, maybe pick a series or some kind of thing like that, take it, have it transcribed, put it into an ebook, boom, within, a day or two, you have a nice downloadable guide that you can get collecting people's emails for. So for me, it was like, well, I interviewed 5 people in 2024 about artificial intelligence and its effect on our industry. So I'm going to take those, summarize them, put them in a GPT, send it over to someone to create an ebook, and then I'm going to put it up on my website as a free download. I'm going to promote it during my interview. So it can be as simple as that, but you just have to be in the mindset of all the time. Like you go to an event, you meet someone, cool. Hey, can I get your email? Right? Follow up, put them on your email list. And if they don't like it, that's fine. They can unsubscribe. It's not that big of a deal anymore. I don't know if that's even legal, what I just suggested, but
I don't know if it is, but I'm not faulting you for it at all. Yeah. I've gotten on so many people's emails and I hate reading email anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm dyslexic, so I hate reading anything. A stop sign's going to bother me, I'm sure. At any rate, so I've got a couple of things that came from you and building an email list.
Well, you're an excellent listener.
I try.
So. Yeah.
Thank you. Tell that to my girlfriend, right? All right. Webinars are one way that we can grow an email list. I had a question on that. How frequently is this webinar Eric webinar, and how frequently is this webinar collaborative with somebody else, maybe who was on the show?
Yeah. I would say probably 80-20, 80 being collaborative, 20 being just Eric.
Okay, cool.
Because, just like podcasting or anything else, when you bring other people in, you're also now engaging their audience if they have one, and then attracting that audience. So I think that's really critical. Is, how do you leverage other people's audiences to build your own?
I have to share a quick brief story. I had a meetup group, and it did end up being one of the biggest meetup groups in the world, honestly, but the biggest one in Colorado. We saw 8,000 faces a year. Wow. And the second one in that area they barely even see 200. So 8,000 versus 200. We were very huge until COVID. You mentioned something that illustrates, it's an important thing that really is a takeaway for the listener. And I noticed it work in my meetup group. And that was the collabs. And you mentioned 80-20, so 80% of the time having somebody else joining you on that because you can grab their audience. And I remember, I don't know how I got this. I just kind of made it up back then. But when I wanted to grow my meetup, I would go to all of the other meetup organizers in my area that had the biggest following in what I wanted them to follow me. And I'd have them speak on something alone, or I got creative and had like a panel of like the top people and what ended up happening is my meetup grew crazy rapidly fast. And it was because I kept like capturing the followers of these other meetup groups that already had followers. So it was, I love that you said that. And I definitely wanted to touch on it a little bit more. You mentioned automations. What kind of automation might be something that we're like, hey, if I only did that, or if I had to keep it simple, where would I start with automation?
Yeah. If we're talking about just in reference to building your email list, I think something that's super stupid simple is if you have a scheduling link for people to book your podcast, that when they schedule, that automation puts their email into your list. Brilliant. Or even just a list of potential guests. Because now once you get to, what are you at, over 500 episodes now?
You're like 502 or something.
Or no, I think I don't know. I'm enough, like 450 or something on the future of fitness. So think about that. Like, yeah, it's 7 years.
What I meant is you might be published on my show as around 502.
Got it.
I was just throwing out, like, I don't know what the number is right now, but it's a couple above 5.
I would have really liked to have been 500, Adam. That would have been really cool. But
I think it comes out tomorrow already, and my team would be so pissed if I changed it.
Well, we were just met, so maybe I could be 1,000.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
But just something like that. So like every time you have someone as a guest on the show, they book that automatically, that automation puts them into an email list of your guests. Now, if you get to Adam's stature and you have 500, now you have an email list of 500, right? Which is not a bad starting point, especially if you know all these people that have a relationship with you. You kind of know what they're looking for, right? These are all people who have podcasts or in the podcast space. Now you have a nice list of 500 people, Adam, that you can serve up value and maybe, additional services, things like that. So even something simple, that scheduling link that puts people into your email list, easy peasy.
Cool.